What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jorge and I love me some clean, minimal, modern design. Now personally, I feel like less is more these days and I want to share with you 3 simple DIY projects that you can do at home. Now don't worry, you do not have to have a minimal modern home. I feel like these projects are very versatile and can lean into contemporary, maybe transitional spaces like mine. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So for this project, we're going to create some wall art, but more specifically an art relief panel. Now, art relief has been around for a very long time. We've seen the Egyptians do it. I think the Romans did it. Everybody's done it. In modern times, aka what I see on Pinterest, I've seen a lot of art panels that are very beautiful. Let me pull up a couple of images here that you can see. These are pieces that I think are really beautiful. Now, I'm not going to try to copy them, but they're sort of just get some inspiration. And by the way, these are expensive. But one thing that you will see about these is that there's very simplified, they have clean lines, some very beautiful curves, and I really like that really play of light. They create some dimension, there's light and shadow. So I actually found this frame right here at the thrift store for 99 cents, which is incredible. It's actually a pretty decent size. Now you could probably do this with any frame that you want. Maybe go pick one up at the thrift store or whatever, make your own. But this one specifically is a little bit more, I don't want to say traditional, but you know, it's not as modern as a lot of the ones I see online. So I think it's great because this will help bring in that element of more traditional into a space that maybe isn't so modern. So let's get into how I went about this. My first intention was to paint the frame. In the end, I left it as is because I think it's nice, but let me show you what you will need. First things first was to cut out a new backing for the artwork. This will also serve as the canvas that I will be gluing, painting on, and all of those things. I love it when things fit perfectly. It just makes my heart melt and I'm very excited. Now for this next part, I'm going to be cutting out some styrofoam. What's great about the styrofoam board, or I guess it's foam board, it's so easy to cut, and here I will be using it. I'll be cutting a series of just different shapes and gluing some together and really creating that feeling of it being a relief slash additive piece, and really have fun with dimension. As you can see here, I'm laying out some rectangles and squares just to keep it very simple. I could probably have done some curves or something like that, but again, just keeping it very simple. There is no right or wrong way to do this. Have fun. One thing I will say about the styrofoam board or foam board is it cuts very nicely, but you can see some issues with the edging that I will actually share here in a second. Okay, so I'm a little bit confused as to what's going on, but I think I understand now. Let me show you. So we have our perfectly rectangle piece right here. Let's consider this an iceberg. This iceberg got struck by this piece right here and it kind of broke it apart. So these right here, these two are perfect squares and these two are rectangles, and then that's the little thing. And so to add some dimension here, as you can see, this are 2 of them stacked together. This one is just 1, this one is 3, and that one is 4. This one is just 1. What that does, it creates some dimension. So I'm going to glue these together. Like I said, I had some issues with the edging because when you cut this foam board, it basically does not leave a clean cut. Some of that foam starts to stick out. It's not very smooth in appearance. So my attempt to fix this was to put tape around the edges, and that kind of helped. But then the tape, you can see the seam of the tape and on the foam board, and it became more apparent when painted. So my remedy was to put texture and poke holes on it for some reason, and so I painted this, And then I even applied dirt on this, which looked like crap. It took me down this bad rabbit hole that I'm glad I did, because now I know what not to do. So let me show you what I recommend that you do if you do this project. I recommend cardboard because cardboard cuts nicer and it leaves just a cleaner edge. Here I am using E-flute, and technically it's like the corrugated thin cardboard. I actually went to architecture school and we use these materials all the time for creating architecture models, and my recommendation is using some tacky glue and creating just a whole bunch of small dots to glue layers together. It really helps. Trust me, this looked much better than it did before. So I glued this onto the back panel, which by the way, I used foam board because it was more rigid. I then painted this in a khaki color because you know me, I love my neutrals. The key here is to use flat paint because you do not want any sheen to this. So I applied a couple coats of this and then let that dry, put it back on the frame. So let's take a look at the final result. So I'm kind of obsessed with candlesticks, like seriously. I keep buying them, I keep making them, and of course this next project is a candlestick perfect for holding taper candles. Now I'm using some cement and some wood. I think it'll turn out great. I'm actually recording this beforehand, so if you're seeing this, it probably turned out nice. So let's get into it. Now this project has a couple of steps, but trust me, it's actually very simple. The first part was to create the candle holder mold for the cement. And I'm going to be using this PVC pipe. Now I don't remember the dimensions right now, but I will link everything down below. And I have no problem using my miter saw to cut this just to make my life easier because I already have it. But you don't not need a miter saw. You can just use any hand saw. They actually have them at Dollar Tree if you really are budget savvy. And I'm also going to use this solid dowel. So let me explain the design of this candlestick. It's basically going to be a cylindrical cement holder with this like dowel, wooden dowel sticking out of it. It's actually quite a simple concept. This dowel is perfect because it fits just a regular 3/4 inch candlestick or candle. So I'm going to be using a 3/4 inch drill bit to cut some holes in there. I'll link it down below. And before I do that, I want to locate the center of the dowel, and for this, thank you to one of you of my subscribers. You actually showed me a trick, and basically draw a circle, fold it in like quarters or whatever, and then you will locate the center. This is genius. I probably learned this in math class, but I forgot. Once locating the center, I clamp this down onto a sturdy surface. Here I'm using my picnic table bench because it's a nice day out, and my bar clamp is going to hold this together. I love these because they're very practical. They get me through so many projects and they're quite inexpensive. No, this is not sponsored. Now here's that 3/4 inch spade blade again. Now the key to drilling holes through these is really taking it slow, because if you go too fast, chances are you might break this dowel or I don't know, screw it up or something like I have. And basically take it slow. Don't go all the way through the dowel because you want just enough so that the candle fits in there. I followed up by sanding down these wooden holders just to get them nice and smooth. I like that natural wood, especially against the cement. So I don't know why I actually spray painted these. I regret doing that. But again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Now back to the cement molds. I'm here clamping down my PVC pipe. By the way, it's 5.5 inches in length. What's great about PVC, since it's plastic, you can basically cut it easily. So I'm cutting a seam down the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this will help me release the cement once it cures. Now, my best friend today is duct tape, because this duct tape will help me for two reasons. First, it's going to clamp down that seam that I just cut up, making sure that the cement doesn't go through it. And then also I'm going to use it to cover up the base, again, just to prevent the cement from going through it. And then that will basically be it for those holders. For the cement, I am using the brand called Cement All, just because that one doesn't have any aggregate, just the cement. You can find that at probably your local hardware store. Now the thing with mixing cement is you want it consistency that is kind of like pancake batter. Right here, I probably could have used a little bit more water, but in the end, it worked for me. This cement cures pretty quickly, so we gotta work quickly. I'm tapping it down just to release those air bubbles. Then I'm putting that wooden holder inside. This wooden holder gets pushed up by the cement a little bit, so you kind of have to hold it in place for a bit. But don't worry, this cures rather quickly, so you don't have to hold it that long. But you also want to make sure that it's centered. You don't want the holder to be leaning towards one side because it won't be encased by the cement. That pretty much does it for this part. No, it does not look perfect. Some of that cement got onto the wood, but that's okay. It'll get sanded down later. This specific cement cures in an hour, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it overnight and then come back to remove it. It is the next day and it's time for the moment of truth. I'm going to release the candlestick from the mold, removing the tape here, and I'm going to use this flathead screw just to like release that seam. For some reason I grabbed a hammer to like tap it out and I kind of broke it. Whoops. That's alright. Nothing E6000 couldn't fix. But overall I think it's turning out really nice. The other one came out quite nicely. Look at that. Perfect. And finally I cleaned up the edges with some heavy grit sandpaper. In the end I sanded down the dowel back to the natural wood because I think it looks nicer. You could totally seal this as well, but I did not. So let's take a look at the final result. For this next project, I actually found this cabinet at the thrift store for $1.50. That's right, $1.50. Now it's probably an old media tower cabinet situation from the 90s based on the design, but it definitely gives off modern vibes. I was reluctant to buy it because it wasn't very nice looking, but after some thought, I purchased it, brought it home, and let me share with you an easy way that you can transform a cabinet like this. So let's assess the situation. So it has this shelf right here that slides in and out. I'm going to remove that somehow, and then I'm going to be replacing that back panel, and then it has a couple of these shelves that you can adjust, so I'm going to leave those, and then of course remove the doors, well the one door because this one broke, and then we'll see what that happens. Now this only costs like $1.50, so if I ruin this, it's just $1, so hopefully it'll turn out fine. And the first step was to remove all of the glass and the hardware. And in case you're curious what happened to the other glass door, well, it shattered on me as I was transporting this outside. Don't worry, I cleaned it up. Of course, I'm removing all of the hardware that went with the doors and this like pull out shelf situation. Don't want that anymore. My overall plan for this cabinet was to really just keep it simple. I want to keep it open, refinish it in an easy way, and maybe add some legs. This is overall just a very basic cabinet, which I think is very common. So you can easily transform any cabinet that you have into something that I might do here. Now, of course, that backing will not work anymore because it was pretty much broken and cut out. I'm using this stuff right here. I don't know what it's called, but I know it's like plywood and it's easy to cut. Here I'm using my hand saw to cut that out. It cuts like butter. So you know when you build furniture at IKEA, there's always extra nails for the backing of furniture? Well, this is where it's going to come in handy, and I'm going to use that to apply the back. Before applying the backing, I'm going to make my life easier and fill in this gap that was left by the shelf here. So I'm going to use this Drydex spackling, and what's great about it is that it applies pink, but then it turns white when it's ready to be painted or sanded. So I think it's going to make this look a lot nicer, and then I will paint the inside. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with the exterior, if I'm going to stain it or also paint it, so we'll see. This is a moment I really find satisfying to watch back because, I don't know, just watching that whole gap disappear, I don't know, I find that kind of satisfying. Comment down below if you do too. I wasn't planning on sanding the entire thing, but once I started sanding, especially that gap that I filled in, I kind of just gave it all just a quick sanding, nothing too harsh because again, I'm going to be repainting this or applying some stain on. So for the exterior of the cabinet, I do not want to sand down, so I want to actually restain this, and I basically am going to do gel stain with regular stain, and I'm going to use this shelf. I turned it upside down just to test out the stains, just to see what it would look like, but first I'm going to apply some pre-stained wood conditioner. Now that it's been 15 minutes, I'm going to apply this weathered oak stain. And finally, I'm going to apply Simply White by Minwax. Well, that didn't work, and it looks pretty awful, so I'm gonna go in a different direction now. Of course, that's exactly what I did, so I applied primer to all of the interior of the cabinet, and can you guess what color I went with? Yep, that's right, I went with black because, you know what, I love black, it's a great color, I think it's timeless, it's classy. And so that's exactly what I did. I painted the shelves, I painted the backing, which I'm gonna reattach later just to make my life easier. And then for the exterior, I'm doing basically ghost coating it in stain. Now there's gel stain out there, but for this cabinet I just had like a whole bunch of ebony stain. That's just regular stain. So I applied some wood conditioner just to let that soak in, and then after that dried I applied the dark ebony stain. You've seen this before in my videos, so I won't make you watch a whole bunch of them. I always like to do 3 coats of the dark ebony just because it really pairs well with black paint. Once that dried, I applied polyacrylic. No, I did not forget about the backing and the shelves. I actually did them separately just to make my life easier, but now that I applied the polyacrylic, I'm gonna go ahead and put it back on the cabinet. I attached the backing using those small nails that I showed earlier. This reminds me of building IKEA furniture, which I oddly enjoy. So I feel like the cabinet needs a little bit of sexiness, so I'm going to be using some dowels here and some of this wood, solid wood, that I cut up into 4 pieces. These are 6.5 inches in length, and I'm going to make some legs with them, and I'm just going to drill a hole here, insert this, put some glue, insert it, probably paint it black, and then put it on the cabinet and see what it looks like. So I cut some holes into the wood just to fit the dowel in there. In this case, it's a 5/8 inch, which I know is controversial. It seems very thin for supporting this cabinet, but trust me, I wobbled the heck out of this at the end and it seemed very, very secure. What's great about this technique that I'm doing right here is that it really keeps the dowel from moving around, especially after applying the glue, because it's such a tight fit. Now I painted them black and I applied the glue wall. Trust me, glue wall, in my opinion, is very, very strong for bonding glue together. It's stronger than the wood itself, in my opinion. No, this is not sponsored either. I made 4 countersink holes just to be able to screw this onto the base of the cabinet. I applied some glue and then of course screwed this in just to create a nice clamp while the glue dries. And that pretty much does it for this cabinet, so let's take a look at the final look. Okay, so that was today's video. I really want to thank you so much for watching. Comment down below. Let me know which one was your favorite. Personally, I am obsessed with the wall art. I feel like it's modern, but then it feels a little bit traditional, especially with the frame. It could work for a space that maybe needs a little bit more modern to it. So be sure to like this video. It will really help me out. Subscribe for more videos like this, and also watch these videos of other DIYs that I have done. I want to thank you again, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye.